Hello, Shukkuen.
Hi, Farrin.
Hello, thank you for joining us today. Our today artist and novel member is Shukkuen Tse. She's a talented artist who I have the privilege to have this conversation with. Thank you for joining us and welcome to our conversation.
Thank you for the opportunity.
Thank you. All right. We always start with an introduction about yourself and what type of art you do and how actually you became interested in art.
Sure.
Tell us a little bit about your background and how you become an artist.
Um, I I've never had a formal education in art. I've never been to art school, but I've taken lots of workshops. But I've always loved being creative, and I'm a teacher. My day job, my full-time job's a teacher, mostly in mathematics, and I've done grades from college level to kindergarten. And actually, currently, I'm working with kindergartners, first grade and second grade.
Wow.
And it is, and I love mathematics. It's such a beautiful visual and, of course, formulaic languages. It's could be complicated, but it could be so beautiful. That can be expressed numerically with formulas, equations, and of course visually.
Yeah.
And working with students of all different grades, I really need to learn how to be visually explicit and creative so as to convey a formula or an idea that feels so abstract and difficult. But if something can be conveyed in diagrams, that's simple enough that can really help students to understand mathematics. So that's part of my background.
Yeah.
I have always loved to draw and paint, but never went to art school because my parents said that you can't make any money out of being an artist. So I followed the directions, and I became an occupational therapist. And during that training, again, the creativity, it's so important. Also, the visual perception, that aspect, the visual skills, also very important. That's part of my training.
Yes.
And so I started doing more painting and drawing in free time. And I've been doing drawing, painting, and sculpture for about 20 years.
Yeah.
And then about 10 years ago, I got into a bike accident and then end up having 2 brain surgeries.
Oh, goodness.
The strange thing is my right brain did not get much damage. It's more of my left brain that involves my reading, writing, but my visual aspect continue, and it wasn't much affected. And during that time, during my rehab, I happened to be talking to an art teacher, and she was saying, is there any relationship between mathematics and art? That's when I started looking at the two and see how can I connect the two. And so I started reading a lot of books and looking at an equation or formula and see how can I express it artistically, algebraically.
Yeah.
And explore both. And that's when I started painting method art.
Yeah. I mean, so overall, according, for example, to Pythagoras in Plato, we all human beings started with geometry. I mean, which is according to Pythagoras, monad, the circle,
Yeah.
the dot. That's the foundation of human. And
Yeah.
then so from that, which is the golden geometry or 5 Platonic solid created, which has become the base on human and all creation in the world. So in a sense, our whole creation is based on mathematics and geometry. So it's something is all around us.
Exactly. Yeah. Like math is all around us all the day, all day long. It's just we just didn't pay much attention to it.
Exactly. Yeah. If you look at it, you see it's part of us. I mean, it's human cell or geometric form in a sense. And so you just put these two two and two together and visualize it.
Yeah. And it's just my way. I'm sure there are 10 different, 20 different mathematicians. They all come up with all different interpretations and interactions, but basically it's a lot of mathematical relationship between numbers, quantities, proportions, ratios, et cetera. Just go on and on.
Yeah, because number creates shape, and so that's how geometric created. I mean, I myself working with geometric a lot, and it's kind of part of me. And I'm teaching actually Islamic geometric drawing, and I always tell my student, you know, it's like it is complicated and at the same time simple to learn because it's all about measuring and concentrating. It's also good for like kind of meditation because you have to put your mind in it in order to create that perfect shape out of number.
Right. And the reasoning and the understanding, because oftentimes in education, they talk about a lot of drill and kill memorization, but how much do you understand it? What do you really see? Where is the relationship coming from? And to dive deeper into it other than memorizing the facts. So, and once I understand it, then the creativity comes in place because when I know the basic, then I can play around with it. So,
so some work like this, for example, we see from one of your recent work. This is how you started at the beginning with this type of work in geometry.
This is actually one of my latest.
Okay.
There is one called resonant sequence, which is totally mathematical. This one here is a interaction between chaos and reasoning. As you can see all the red patches, it's probably because there are some leftover red paint and orange. I don't know what to do with it. So I was just smearing around. And then I began to see, wow, they could be related. So I as you can see, there is one tiny circle there. And and you can see the circle gets bigger and bigger, but one side of the circumference, they continue to stick together, whereas the other side just grow wider and wider and wider. So I would say this is interaction between chaos of color, which I find it a luck and be able to see the combination of the orange, yellow, and the blue, and some mathematical geometric measurement so that I was able to draw all those circles. And so that's how it started. So it's not dependent on any particular formula or mathematical. It's like the Fibonacci number. It's not that much. It's not. But the relationship, it's more of the relationship from small to get bigger. And one side is growing one by one, and then the other side is growing, it's doubling. So it's 2, 4, 6, 8, just get bigger and bigger. Whereas the other end, it keeps about a centimeter apart from each other.
Okay. So for me, when I saw it, I thought that's a map of the world or universe in a sense. You know, it's that's a color seeking through this blue color. I had the idea that that's actually representing the map of the world, which is, it makes sense in a, like, you know, for observer to had different view from what you're saying, but also the idea of this chaos and coming together and thing also makes sense within it. So to make it something like this, first you do the measuring and you do the outline drawing and then color it, right?
I do both. And sometimes I do the measurement first and throw in color. For this particular situation, I had the coloring first. And then I started allowed to get myself out of the way and really look at it and see how are the two pieces related? How do patches of color, and begin to start drawing? So I'm still trying to decide, should I throw in color first or should I draw first? So
Okay.
this is the color comes first. And then I begin to see the relationship between the two patches of yellow and orange. And the idea came afterwards.
Okay. All right.
And
So you put the color
started.
and then you did the drawing.
Yeah, I was just imagine my creativity is to think, how can I connect the two?
Yes.
And so that's how it started.
Yeah.
So I think the fun part, but also the part that is so struggling, is I don't want it to make it too geometrical, too standard, blocky, and boring.
Yeah.
I would like to have some degree of mathematical precision, but I think more important is to allow creativity come through to whatever ideas pop out of my mind, because they are every day. There are just so many mathematical formulas and equations, and what do I have to teach today, tomorrow? They just go on and on. But I just want, and sometimes I want to let it go and allow what comes off of my mind, and to have and to allow the creativity comes through, and then
Yeah.
throw in color. So it's a combination of both.
Yeah, I understand. I mean, you want to flow in a sense and see which come first. And this is also one of your recent work. Is that also the same thing? You did the color and then you start to break it down, right?
This is the opposite.
Oh, okay.
This is inspired by a book called The Power of Limits, and the ratios and proportions remind people of the shapes of a fish or a living beings. But it doesn't look like a fish. But anyway, I borrowed that book and called The Power of Limits, and I think the person was an architect. He passed away, and so he threw in a lot of these numbers and equations and turn it into curves and shapes. So I followed some of the formulas to create these connected curves and circles and lines. And after drawing it right in the middle, the idea came up. So how would it look like? So I see the center as the focus, and again, the surrounding as, could that be an ocean? Could it be sky? And so it was a drawing first, and then the color comes through later. And again, it all depends. Everyone has a different way of interpreting it. But the joy is to go do it and not thinking about planning about it, but just keep doing it. And everyone has a different interpretation, and it is so fun to see. Everyone would see it differently. And it's just a fun part of it. I'm sure we all look at artwork and we all have different interpretations.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
So why you call it July? Is it like something because of color? It's resembling the or summer color?
That's a mistake. It's not a title. It's literally, this was done this past July.
Oh, okay.
It wasn't a title of the work. I'm sorry.
No, I'm just that maybe that's the title.
No, it wasn't a title. It's I did not give it a title. All I can say is it comes from the phrase called the power of limits.
Okay.
So if that's a title, I would just copy it. There is the limit as to what we can do, but it could be so powerful, and it could be
It
not
could be
limited.
like a wave, right?
Yeah,
Wave,
yes.
powerful as a wave. We can.
It is.
Yeah.
And also the curvy shapes of a fish, of a living being. And it looks geometrical, but it's also very fluid, very soft.
I understand.
Yeah.
I understand. But it would make sense for July too, because it is July. So. All right, sorry.
Okay, so for this painting, it started off so simple. It really is just a hexagon. As you can see, one of the cubes, sort of like a cube, it just started off as a hexagon, but then it grows and grows on one side, and then it gets smaller and smaller on the other side. this idea was inspired when I was able to do math and art after all the MCAS, the high stake test. And I gave students some very simple piece of paper and then to give them 6 dots, excuse me, 6 dots on a circle. And they started connecting the dots and turn it into a hexagon. And before you know it, there are so many lines you can connect. And one student drew a hexagon within a hexagon within a hexagon within a hexagon. It was pretty amazing, the creativity that a 5th grader can create.
Yeah.
And so I was looking at that and thought, instead of going inward, how about if I expand it?
Exactly.
So it's a hexagon and then growing bigger and bigger and bigger.
Yeah.
So that's how it came out. Again, it's the drawing first, but
Yeah.
and then the coloring later.
Yeah. Oh, okay. Yeah, it is like, we did numbers are infinite. So I mean, this infinity can go within the shape too. So
That's right.
makes sense. Yeah.
So this one, it's start from a circle, just one circle, and there are, I've forgotten how many dots, maybe 40 dots around the circle. And I basically connect the 2 dots around the circle. And that's when what comes out is sort of an infinite number of lines zooming out of the circle. And it's surprise, it's fun. And I do not want to highlight every diamond or rhombus. It's just a few to express the surprise or the awe when you have just one circle and then connect the dots. So much can come out
Okay.
of
So
the connection of lines.
yeah, it's like creation, right? Starting from the dot and infinite
Numbers and
numbers.
relationships.
Yes. So for something like this, are you measuring each one individually, and then that's a lot of like measuring involved before?
No, measuring only start with maybe the first 10 minutes. I have one circle and I want to around the circle, I want to have maybe 1 centimeter a dot, 1 centimeter a dot, 1 centimeter around the circle. And then there will be two dots in the center, and that's how I started connect the lines. So the measurement literally maybe for 20 minutes. And after I got the dots, I started connecting all the lines.
Right.
And you can create all these connection of lines. I think that part requires a lot of precision, but the measurement maybe takes about 10 minutes, that's all.
So is this something you draw with pencil, and then the next stage is to ink it or put color in it, right? Or you, as you said, you have color in the background and then you start doing the drawing, and somehow
I think this part I throw in some color first,
yeah.
except the very dark highlight. That, of course, I did it on purpose, as you can see. But you can see the murky background. Those colors are right there already.
Yeah.
So
How you get the idea for your work? For example, like to create this, what inspired you to make each piece of work?
well, this particular one, I think I was looking in a video about a universe and how stars and planets, they connect together and how the energy reflect off of each other.
All right.
So that's how, I think that's how it came
Yeah. So
up.
for everything, you just get inspiration from every, like, daily life, or what you see or what you read, right?
Right.
Okay.
This is sort of similar, and just basic mathematical tools, a compass, and basically a compass. And I started, again, the background color is totally murky. I had no idea what I'm going to draw on, but I like the color background. And so it sort of reminded me a little bit about when you look up at the sky, what do I see when I look up at the sky? So besides a few stars, I'm sure if you're living out, let's say in the bottom of the Grand Canyon, every square inch will be covered with stars. But this is not the case. But just copying that idea. And as you can see, there are 2 drawn circles. And again, it's a connection between 1, 2, 3, 4 line circles, but how the few circles are connected based on the dots around the circumference. And to see the connection, interweaving connection between the few triangles.
Yeah.
And somehow sort of related to how the stars relate to each other, or how human beings relate to each other. There are always interactions. There are always
it's connection, right? Connection
it's
within our
connection,
universe. Yeah.
it's collision, it's connection, it's bonding, and then it's separation. And so it's all different kinds of things. So
yeah, I mean, in Hermetism, there is a concept that said, as above, so below. That means whatever happened above can affect below on earth. So that's how, like, we all connected, the sky and earth connected. And so what happened there?
yeah,
us and the earth. So
right.
concept kind of, it makes sense in your work.
Yeah. Again, this is similar to the power of limits, very similar. But here, this one, it's a lot simpler. Here I have the connection is, what do I see? I see bigger circles and smaller circles. I see what's in the middle, the curvy, sort of like the body of a living being. And out of that comes a lot of structures that are connected. In some ways, it's mathematical, but also it's very fluid, very alive, and it
the
grows.
idea is everything has some overlapping with other things. So, which is this overlapping itself could be something else. Like for example, within this circle and this circle, this overlap area creates something new.
Yes. In some ways, of course, they're also mathematically related, but outcomes, the growth, sometimes it's surprise. You don't know what's coming out. It's like atoms meeting atoms, and they continue to grow and grow, and then some grow one direction and the other grows the other direction. But it's certainly connected mathematically, but also it's randomness. It could be chaos and surprises. We don't know what comes out.
Yeah, exactly. It's true.
Now, this is strictly mathematical. It's the Riemann sequence. I forgot when this rule was developed, but the rule is very simple. You are given 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, all the way infinitely. The only rule is you try to subtract as much as you can, but if it gets to negative number, you have to stop. So I started with 1 at the upper left corner, and I cannot minus 2 because 1 minus 2 would turn to negative. So I have to be 1 plus 2. That would be 3. Now, can I minus 3 then? Yes, because that would be 0.
Yeah.
Okay, and then 4, can I minus 4? No, I cannot, because that would be a negative. So it will be plus 4. So these are the numbers that keep growing and growing. And this is the pattern of the number from 1 to infinity. You always want to subtract, but you cannot go beyond 0.
Yeah.
So
are you using this method to teach your student too?
I would say this would be more of the high school and more college level. No, I would never do this for the elementary school student. It would drive them crazy.
Too much, yeah.
But again, I mean, I was just learning this formula myself it's joy, it's fun, it surprises. I mean, there is a rhythmic pattern, but then there is also a lot of calculations. So it's some way it's sort of blocky, is hard, but also there's a fluidity in it, which I enjoy.
Yeah, I understand. It's fun way to practice, actually.
Yeah, yeah.
So,
This one,
so this is like geometric. It's part of your work since like beginning of your art.
beginning of my math and art. I think I started math and art 2015, so it's almost 10 years ago. Like when I said, I was after my accident, and I was lucky that my right brain was still working very well. So that's when I started doing a lot of drawing. I mean, before that, no, I was no math and art, just portraits, landscape, sculptures,
Okay.
and now I'm focusing mostly in mathematics and art.
Yeah.
This one, as you can see, it's a beginning like a growing of a rectangle, but then the rectangle gets longer and longer and longer, and turned into sort of a seashell shape. So it looks mathematical, but also I enjoy it because of the extension from very solid, boring lines. It turned into sort of like a seashell.
Okay. Into an organic shape from
Yeah,
geometry, into organic shape, which is it makes sense. That's
yeah.
the nature itself.
This one, as you can see, is a lot of hexagons, and I see cubes. And this was, how would I describe it? It's again randomness. I think I forgot, this was so long ago, I've forgotten whether I throw in the color first. I think I throw in the color later, but
I like the
and
way you connect the geometric with just the abstract and color itself. So that makes it kind of like, very interesting in a sense, chaotic at the same time order. So in a sense,
right.
is you brought this to order and chaos
Yeah,
connection.
right. That's true. Thank you.
Mm.
And if you look at the geometrical shapes, you can see a cube, you can see buildings, you can see blocks, you can see layers. So it's up to us how you want to interpret
Exactly.
what you see.
Yeah. I mean, to me, it's like just the connection or the boundaries between chaos and order, which is
Right.
out of order come chaos and out of chaos come order.
That's right.
So that's in a sense.
Yeah. Okay, so I was doing it for a few years, and I felt personally for myself, I think as I was doing it, I have to revisit my ideas about math and how do I teach myself and how do I teach my students. And so I finally got permission from the principal, that actually she didn't want me to do it. But I said, what about if we do it after MCAS, the high stake test? Then we give students some time so they don't have to, particularly for kids who say, I hate math, give them some time to enjoy the beauty of it. So these are the few things that we were able to do afterwards. And this is coming from one student, and the math was very maybe you can go back there, go back. Yeah, the math, if you read it, the purple triangle, it's right in the middle. It's 1/16 of the whole triangle. And it is 1/4 of the middle triangle. It's pretty complicated, but I was so happy that she was able to make all these connections. And the color's beautiful too. And this is a 5th grader.
Yeah. So you give them kind of the question or the statement and then they draw something based off it.
No. I did not give them any questions.
Okay.
All I gave them was a triangle and then the middle point of each side of the triangle. And then they started drawing to make the biggest triangle outside, and then they were able to do a smaller triangle in a big triangle, and then the middle triangle with the blue corners. And
Yes.
after they draw the second triangle, they were able to continue with the midpoint to create another smaller triangle and then another smaller triangle. So sort of like an infinitely, you can keep going forever, theoretically. So she stopped after doing what, the big one, the second, third, and fourth, the fourth one. And then I begin to challenge them. What is the area relationship between the small triangle and the big triangle? So that's when it started to come up with some mathematical relationship between the small one and the big ones.
Yeah.
And so
Wow.
she was able to create some mathematical statements about the relationship between each of them.
Yeah, very interesting.
This is the Fibonacci number, and it's 1 + 1 is 2, as you can see. 1 + 2 is 3, 2 + 3 is 5, 3 + 5 is 8, and it goes on and on and on. 5 + 8 will be 13. So this is how it, I gave them small, a quarter of a circle. So they just put the quarter of the circle together and begin to draw and draw. And then it started growing and growing and growing.
Okay.
So this is part of the Fibonacci sequence. And like what you said, it happens in real life, in seashells, in plants, and just going around and around, just getting bigger. And it follows the Fibonacci sequence.
Yeah, I mean, when geometric become organic, you know.
Very much so.
Yeah, very interesting. And I like the idea of visualizing, which is, it's really great help for student to understand it, understand the concept in a sense.
And not get terrified and feeling like I'm bad
exactly.
at math, because there's so many ways to approach math, and writing and memorizing formula is just one of them.
Yeah. Which is not so helpful as when you visualize it. And
exactly.
I think it's like more understanding.
Yes, exploring.
Yeah,
having fun, that's more important.
Yeah.
And this student happened to have some special needs, and but as you can see in this picture, there are actually 6 separate equilateral triangles, 6 separate triangles. As you can see, the white line.
Yeah.
So there were 6 triangles, and she was able to paint each triangle the same. And then when you put them together, it was a really nice surprise to see a smaller hexagon inside of the big hexagon.
Oh, very interesting.
And then there are also, you can see the star with smaller triangle, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 smaller triangle inside, and to create a star. So all these are coming out of surprises. We don't know what's going to come out, but by connecting the lines, and for this particular student, she was just repeating the color pattern. And then when she put them all together, there are so many things that she's able to see that you would not predict.
Exactly. Yeah. And then how all these things, the shape created out of a simple single dot.
Yes.
Right? All the shape. And so the whole universe.
Yeah.
In a sense. So, which is, we are part of this mathematic of universe.
Yeah. So yeah, that's it. So ultimately, my dream is I want to enjoy math myself, but I also would love to teach other students, or my students, to be able to enjoy math and to enjoy and to nurture their creativity, and to know how to love art and to love math. That's my goal.
That's beautiful, actually, and very creative way to teach a student as well as yourself to look at your surrounding, right, and your environment. And Shukkuen has a beautiful website too with all this information, and and more of her beautiful work, which is
thank you. So this is before math and art.
Yeah, then which you can explore and see more of her work. Shukkuen, do you have any last word before we finish our conversation?
No, I think I've said a lot. Do you have any comment?
I think
Or
you did fantastic work. I love your work, and I think very creative way as an artist and as a teacher. And I like that you connect this geometric and visualize it for yourself and for other to understanding. I think it's one of the very smart way, not to only teach, but to practice.
yes, yes.
That's very important.
Yeah, and to share the joy with other students so they can also enjoy it too, because there's just so much beauty around us.
Yeah, exactly. Thank you very much. I really appreciate your time.
Okay.
I had a great time and enjoy
Yeah.
our conversation.
Thank you so much and
Thank
for
you.
chatting. Okay.
Thank
Bye-bye.
you.